Hi everyone! Today I've prepared for you probably the biggest and most detailed breakdown of the movie Predator 5: Prey. This movie sparked a lot of discussion and, for many viewers, became a real event in the world of cinema. And for fans of the Predator franchise, this is a truly special project that managed to bring back the very spirit of real hunting, a tense atmosphere, and respect for the original story. Let's go step by step. Let's start with the most important moment. The very scene where the real action of the movie begins. The first appearance of the Predator, nicknamed Wild. This moment became one of the key scenes that set the tone for the entire film and immediately immersed viewers in the atmosphere of hunting and unknown danger. Honestly, this scene was shown brilliantly, atmospheric, true to the lore, and with full respect for all the rules of the Predator universe. As we already know from previous installments, according to the culture and traditions of the Yautja race, every hunt always starts in the same way, with the landing of the hunter on a new, unfamiliar territory. Everything must follow the rules. Everything must be as fair as possible. And now, just imagine, the early 18th century, the vast wilderness of North America, untouched nature, a harsh environment where every day is a battle for survival. And right here, for the first time, the new hunter, Wild, sets foot on the ground. His ship, after delivering its passenger, automatically leaves the atmosphere and heads into Earth's orbit, leaving the Predator completely alone, surrounded only by dangerous beasts and humans. This is an incredibly important scene that emphasizes the main principle of Yautja hunting culture. After all, according to their code of honor, a true hunter must rely only on himself. No outside help. No backup, nothing but your own skills, your experience, and your instincts. Whatever happens next will be recorded by the Predator's mask, and if he dies, the ship will return home, and all of his brethren will be able to watch his final hunt and judge whether he was worthy of being called a true hunter. And that's exactly why I emphasize that for Wild, Earth is a completely new hunting ground, a totally unfamiliar environment, and you can see it very clearly from his behavior. He doesn't rush to hunt people right away. No, just like a true Yautja, he starts with something simple, studying the world around him, observing the ecosystem. His first victims are an ordinary snake and then a wolf, simple but still dangerous predators of their own world. And then, gradually increasing the difficulty of his challenges, he faces off against a bear, the mighty ruler of the forests, a true monster for any living creature of that time. And each of these kills is like an exam for him, a test of his strength, his reaction speed, and his tactics. Every fight makes him stronger, bringing him closer to his main goal, finding a worthy opponent among humans. And of course, we shouldn't forget about the Yautja tradition of collecting trophies. The Predator always takes the skulls of his victims as proof of his victory, as a symbol of his superiority and hunting skill. And the fight scene with the bear became a real highlight of the movie. It's not just an action scene for the sake of spectacle. It's a perfect representation of the concept of predator versus predator, a primal battle for the right to be called the king of the forest. But there's one more very important detail: Wild's behavior in combat. He doesn't immediately use all of his advanced weapons. This shows the wisdom and experience of his race. He only resorts to laser-guided arrows or more sophisticated devices when his physical strength alone is not enough, or when the opponent truly poses a serious threat. And once again, this perfectly reflects the Yautja hunter's code. They never kill the weak for fun. They always look for an equal opponent, always. I personally really liked the look of the Wild one. He has this certain primal savagery, raw aggression, and even a bit of clumsiness, the kind you'd expect from a young, still-learning hunter. His bone mask especially highlights his connection to nature and perfectly hints at a more ancient traditional style of hunting, without the excessive use of advanced technology. Everything about his design feels harsh, rough, and primitive, yet at the same time incredibly striking and spectacular on screen. And now I'm genuinely curious to know your opinion. What do you think of this new Predator design? Did you like it? Or maybe you would have preferred a more high-tech hunter in the style of the classic movies? Be sure to share your thoughts down in the comments. I would love to read what you think. Now, I want to focus on one of the coolest and most iconic moments of this movie, the legendary Rafael Adolini musket. To be honest, for me personally, this was one of the most pleasant and exciting surprises that the writers prepared for us. And I'm absolutely sure that for all the longtime fans of the older Predator films and comics, this little detail felt like a real gift. If you've been watching my previous videos on this channel, you probably remember that I've already talked in detail about this artifact, about the history of the musket, its original owner, and its significance for the entire Predator universe. And I have to say, it was such a joy to see that the writers not only remembered this piece of lore, but also skillfully wove it into the story of this new chapter, Prey. The appearance of the musket here isn't just a random Easter egg thrown in for hardcore fans. No, this is a genuinely important and meaningful element that ties together different time periods, different stories, and shows us that the Yautja, the race of predators, have a much longer and deeper history of interaction with humanity than it might seem at first glance. And to help you really understand the scale and importance of this little detail, let's dive a little deeper into the lore. The story of the musket goes all the way back to the Predator comics and books from the 1990s. Specifically, to the famous story of a pirate named Rafael Adolini. He was the captain of a pirate ship, a man with strong principles and his own personal code of honor, which, you have to admit, is pretty rare for a pirate. In the original version of the story, his own crew ended up betraying him, and the reason was simple. Adolini forbade his men from robbing a church and stealing treasure from its altar. For his crew, that decision made no sense. They cared only about gold and profit, and as a result, when Adolini stood against their greed and protected the sacred place, they turned on him, betraying him and leaving him alone on the island. And it was a Yautja, nicknamed Greyback, who had been watching these events unfold from the shadows. The Predator was deeply impressed by Adolini's nobility and strong sense of honor, qualities that have always been highly valued among the Yautja race. Deciding to intervene, the Predator swiftly eliminated all the traitorous pirates, but Rafael Adolini himself faced the Predator in a fair, honorable duel, following all the rules of a true warrior's fight. Sadly, Adolini was killed, and, most tragically, not by the Predator, but by a treacherous survivor from his own crew who stabbed him in the back. And here's the most important detail. Before his death, Rafael handed his musket to the Predator as a sign of respect. It was the gesture of a true warrior, respect from one fighter to another worthy opponent. This very musket first appeared in Predator 2, when the elder Yautja, Greyback himself, presents it to the protagonist in the final scene of the movie as a powerful symbol of recognition and respect. And now, decades later, that exact same musket makes its return in Prey. But this time, it appears within a completely new storyline, an alternative version of events. And honestly, this is perfectly normal for the Predator universe. After all, the films, comics, and books have always existed alongside each other, sometimes telling parallel stories without strictly following a single timeline or continuity. And so, in the finale of Prey, we see Naru return to her home tribe. In her hands, the severed head of the slain Predator, the very wild one. And alongside this trophy, she offers up the musket, now a symbol of her victory. It's an incredibly powerful and symbolic moment. But Naru also says something very important, that they all need to move to a safer, better defended place, because the danger might not be over just yet. And this is exactly where the real intrigue begins. During the credits, we are shown animated cave-style drawings on the walls, visually retelling all the key moments from the movie. But the most exciting part comes in the final seconds of the credits. We see 3 Predator ships slowly descending toward Earth, heading directly to the place where Naru's tribe is located. And now that's the real mystery. Who are they? Why have they arrived? What's going to happen next? There are actually several possible explanations here. The first option, the classic version. These are other Yautja hunters who have come to retrieve the body of their fallen comrade. This is a standard tradition within their culture, to recover the bodies of fallen warriors and return them to their homeworld. The second option, respect and recognition. These may very well be elder Yautja, higher-ranking members of their species, arriving to personally pay their respects to Naru for her victory. This would be very similar to what we saw in Predator 2, where the protagonist was honored by the Predators. Perhaps they'll offer Naru an artifact of great value, or even propose to exchange her musket for something even rarer or more powerful. The third option, conflict. Well, maybe. This won't be a gesture of respect at all. Maybe it's the beginning of a new hunt, only on a completely different scale. Imagine it. 3 elite Yautja hunters against an entire human tribe. Or perhaps it will be a new survival game, where Naru will once again have to rely on all her intelligence, tactics, and skills to outsmart a far superior enemy. Either way, that final scene with the musket and the arrival of the Yautja ships is without a doubt one of the coolest setups for a potential sequel in the entire Predator franchise. Right now, there are 2 main fan theories about this ending. The first is that the Yautja simply want to retrieve the body of their fallen comrade. The second is that they've come to honor Naru for her strength, bravery, and victory. Maybe they'll even offer her a deal to trade her musket for something far more valuable from their own world. But what do you think? Which theory do you like more? Or do you have your own version of what might happen next? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to read your thoughts. Now let's talk more about the symbolism of this movie. Right from the very beginning, Naru is very different from the other hunters in her tribe. She's not just physically strong, she's intelligent, thoughtful, observant, and incredibly patient. Remember the lion hunt scene? Instead of rushing in like everyone else, Naru suggests waiting for the perfect moment and luring the beast to their trap. And later, she applies exactly the same strategy when facing the predator. She carefully studies his tracks to understand his height, size, and strength. She watches his movements, analyzes his actions, notices his mistakes and weaknesses. She doesn't rely on brute force. She relies on her brain. And then there's the swamp scene, which becomes a key part of her preparation for the final battle. Naru realizes that she cannot defeat the predator in a head-on fight. Physically, she is no match for him, so she turns to her greatest weapon: traps, stealth, and the environment around her. And honestly, in this approach, she strongly resembles Dutch from the very first Predator movie in 1987. By the way, the scene with the thermal vision is another brilliant detail. Naru notices that lowering her body temperature makes her invisible to the predator's heat vision, so she uses the orange Yautja flower to cool her body down. Another clever survival trick that perfectly fits the logic of the story. All these little moments, her actions, her observations, her strategies, are wonderfully integrated into the plot and clearly explain why she's able to survive and win. What's especially cool is the behavior of the predator himself. He doesn't kill the unarmed or the weak. Remember the scene with the trap? When Naru is caught and completely defenseless, he doesn't even touch her. For him, in that moment, she poses no threat, and that once again highlights the Yautja code of honor. They are hunters, not murderers. And of course, we need to talk about the predator's arsenal in Prey. It deserves special respect. All of his weapons in the movie aren't just there to look cool. They are fully functional parts of the story. His shield, his net trap, his laser-guided arrows, everything is used with purpose, style, and tactical logic. Each weapon has its moment, its function, and every fight scene feels both brutal and smart. And of course, we can't forget about the mask. This time, it's bone, a real trophy, most likely crafted from the skull of some incredibly dangerous creature that the predator had hunted before. And that's what makes it so unique. In Prey, we see a more wild, raw, and primitive version of the predator than in any of the previous films. Less high-tech, more natural, and much more brutal. Overall, this movie turned out to be incredibly well made. The screenwriters clearly thought through so many little things. The attention to detail here is absolutely phenomenal. The atmosphere of nature, the tension of the hunt, the survival element, all of that was captured perfectly. You can really feel the harshness of the environment, the danger around every corner, and the constant battle for survival. And honestly, Hulu as a studio really proved with this project that they know how to make great movies, even for a streaming platform. And I'm personally super excited that they will also be producing a series based on the Alien universe. And if they keep this same level of quality, we're absolutely in for something really, really awesome. As both a longtime fan of the Predator franchise and just as a regular viewer, I can say this: I really liked Prey. The image of the Predator here felt completely new, fresh, and genuinely interesting. There was nothing unnecessary, nothing forced. The plot was simple and clear. The logic behind the characters' actions felt natural, and the whole story was built in a smart and consistent way. And yes, I know some people might complain, "Oh, the main character is a girl, that's just modern trends." But let's be honest here. Ripley from Alien 1979 was also a woman, and she became a cult character not because of her physical strength, but because of her intelligence, determination, and incredible character. That's exactly what we see with Naru in Prey. She wins not because she's stronger than the Predator, but because she's smarter. She observes, plans, adapts, and outwits her enemy. That's what makes her victory feel so well-deserved. So, personally, I think Predator 5. Prey turned out to be a truly great movie, and honestly, I would love to see its sequel if it ever happens. But what about you? What did you think of the movie? Be sure to share your opinion down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned, because there are many more awesome breakdowns and deep dives coming soon.